Good morning, first graders. Welcome to today's mini lesson. As you know, our work during our mini lesson for reading sets us up for what we will be doing when we're independently reading. Our mini lessons give us new ideas and new skills to practice when we're reading the books that we've chosen to read during our independent time. So, before we get started in our new task today, I'd like to talk about what we have been learning so far. We have learned a few different story elements, and those story elements we've talked about are characters, setting, and the main events, meaning the beginning, the middle, and the end, and the details that happen in between those times. So what I would like you to do first is I'd like you to turn and talk with the person next to you about what each of these words mean. Now, a couple reminders before we turn and talk. Remember, a respectful listener has their body turned toward their partner, your eyes are on your partner when they're speaking, and you're listening carefully so that you're able to share what your partner told you today. All right? So you'll have 2 minutes to just turn and talk about what each of these words mean, and we will come back together to share out. Okay, go ahead and turn and talk. So during this time, I would give them just a couple minutes to talk with each other, and I would be kind of checking in with each partnership to gauge that their conversation is on task, and just to kind of get a general idea if everyone remembers what each of these terms mean. All right, first graders, go ahead and thank your partner for sharing and turn your bodies back toward me. And then at this time, I would ask for some volunteers to share what their partner told them about the meaning of each of these words. Okay, thank you so much for participating and sharing your partner's ideas. So today, what we are going to learn how to do is we are going to learn how to use one of the tools from our Reader's Workshop bag, which is our Post-it notes. We're going to use these today to flag the different story elements from our books so that when we are sharing our stories with our partner at the end of independent reading, you're able to use the story elements and the details from what you read to retell what happened to your partner. Okay? So, again, by doing this work today, what you will be able to start practicing today and then going forward with our reading is you will be able to tell about characters, setting, and the main events using details from the story. And using these Post-its kind of gives you almost like a roadmap to follow in your book, because sometimes we might sit down with our book, with our partner, and we want to share the whole story. We want to tell every single thing that happens, but we don't need to say everything. We want to pick the most important parts of the story that really give the story the meaning that we gather from what we've read, and we just want to tell our partner the most important pieces. Okay, so watch me as I begin to read this book called The Name Jar. Watch me use these Post-its to flag story elements that I'm finding that I think I would want to tell my partner about. All right, here we go. So again, this is called The Name Jar. Through the school bus window, Yoon-hae looked out at the strange buildings and houses on the way to her new school. It was her first day, and she was both nervous and excited. Okay, so already I'm going to put a flag here because I'm pretty sure I'm meeting the main character since she is the same girl on the front cover. Okay, so I'm putting a flag here. And I'm even going to use this symbol for the characters so that I can kind of remind myself why I put this flag here. So if we just put a bunch of sticky notes in this book, we might not remember why we chose to put those sticky notes there. And did you notice that when I put my sticky note here, I didn't take a bunch of time drawing or writing on the sticky note. I just quickly put it on here, and now I'm going to get back to my reading. She fingered the little block of wood in her pocket and remembered leaving her grandmother at the airport in Korea. Her grandmother had wiped away Yoon-hae's tears and handed her an ink pad and small red satin pouch. "Your name is inside," she had said. "My name?" Eunhye had wondered. Again, she took out the red pouch to look at the wooden block with her name carved in it. As she ran her fingers along the grooves and ridges of the Korean characters, she pictured her grandmother's smile. "Is that thing for show and tell?" a boy asked Eunhye, surprising her. Eunhye looked up as more kids leaned over. "No, it's mine," Eunhye answered, quickly putting the pouch back in her pocket. "Are you new here? What's your name?" a girl asked. "Eunhye," said Eunhye. "Eunhye?" the girl asked, scrunching up her face. "Eunhye?" some kids chanted. No, Eunhye corrected. It's spelled Unhei. It's pronounced Eunhye. "Oh, it's you, hey," the boy said. "Like you, hey. What about hey, you?" Just then, the bus pulled up to the school and the doors opened. Eunhye hurried off. "You, hey, bye-bye," the kids yelled as she left. Eunhye felt herself blush. Okay, so I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to add another flag because she's arriving at her new school, and I'm predicting that this new school is going to be the main setting of the story. Now, I'm sure Eunhye may go other places in the book, but I think that because of how this book has started already, I'm pretty sure the setting is mostly going to be the school. So I went ahead and flagged this page, and I used this image on my post-it note to remind myself that I think the school is the setting, and so I would want to tell my partner about that. All right, first graders, as I keep reading, I would like you to start thinking about if you were reading the name jar, where would you want to start flagging important story elements that you would want to retell to your partner at the end of independent reading. So as I continue to read, think about where, if you were reading, where would you start to add those flags? All right? Eunhye stood in the doorway of her new and noisy classroom. She was relieved that the kids on the bus had gone to other rooms, but her face still felt red. "Aren't you going in?" asked a curly-haired boy with lots of dots on his face. "You're the new girl, right?" he asked cheerfully. Eunhye nodded, and before she could walk away, the boy took her hand and pulled her through the door. "Here's the new girl," he announced so loudly that the teacher, Mr. Kokotos, almost dropped his glasses. Mr. Kokotos thanked him and greeted Eunhye. "Please welcome our newest student," he said to the class. "She and her family just arrived from Korea last week." Eunhye smiled broadly and tried not to show her nervousness. "What's your name?" someone shouted. Eunhye pictured the kids on the bus. I haven't picked one yet," she told the class, "but I'll let you know by next week." As Mr. Kokotos showed her to her desk, she felt many round, curious eyes on her. Why doesn't she have a name? She heard someone whisper, "Maybe she robbed a bank in Korea and needs a new identity," a boy replied. All right, I may stop here and ask students, after maybe reading one or two more pages, where they would like to add flags or where they think it would be a good idea for me to add a flag so as to retell something significant that happened in the book, but we'll not continue reading. So at this time, after we shared a little bit about where students think that they might start to add flags, I would go into giving them their task for independent reading. So thank you, first graders, for sharing your ideas of where I might add my flags going forward as I read the name jar. Your task today during your independent reading is you're going to have your collection of books that you've chosen. You'll have your sticky notes and you will have a pencil. Those are the only tools you need for independent reading today. Your job is to start practicing our work during our mini lesson in your own reading. At the end of our time for independent reading, you will be getting together with your partner and you will practice using the flags that you've put in your book and sharing those significant details from the story. You will practice telling about characters, setting, main events, and using details from the text to do that. All right. Great job with me today. Happy reading.